Earth to Keith Thurman. Come in, Keith Thurman. Well, there goes your 0-2 weekend that I promised. But both of the big underdogs, in my opinion, could have and maybe should have won. All right, let me start with Gary Russell Jr. versus Joseph Diaz Jr., aka JoJo Diaz. Now, please don't beat me up on what I'm about to say. I'm not saying this because my hot streak is running to a brick wall. Well, really, it's just a temporary thing, if you follow me. A brick wall would be going like 0 for 8. But this was one of those TV fights where if you watch on television, you don't get the full effect of what you saw in the arena, if you were there. I was on press row, and I'll say about 70% of press row had it between 115, 113, and 117, 111, Russell. The other 30% of press row had it either a draw or 1 or 2 points for Diaz. So it wasn't a 50-50 split. I mean, 70% had it for Russell, and the majority of people who weren't in the arena, who have some type of boxing expertise or what have you, who watched it on television, had it for Russell. 16-12, 17-11. Now, I'm not a poor sport. I don't bet on boxing. I just give opinion and the occasional prediction. What you saw on television and what you saw and heard at the arena were two different things. When I say the body shots Diaz landed could be heard throughout the arena, I'm telling you, if you know anyone that went to the fight, ask anyone who was there. Dating back to Hagler versus Leonard, we still don't have judges who understand how to score body punching. Do you like quantity or do you like accuracy? Gary Russell Jr. threw 992 punches and landed 199 for about 20%. Joseph Diaz Jr. threw 491 punches and landed 192. So that's 7 less than Russell for a 40% connect rate, or 39 point whatever to be exact. So he doubled Russell Jr. up with the percentage of punches landed. If you like flashy, pot shot, slick kind of stuff as a judge, which the judges liked in this fight, then your card was for Gary Jr. In essence, what I'm asking is, do you think a lot of those 992 punches by Russell made him look busy, but they did absolutely nothing? That's the question that was posed. A lot of the combinations and the flash and what have you, some was blocked, some landed. But did it create the, well, he's the busier fighter? Well, yeah, I guess. Now, but let's look a little deeper. Diaz landed more shots against Russell than anyone of record, including Lomachenko. So Russell threw twice as many shots, but only landed 7 more, and his percentage was 20%. Whereas Diaz's was 40%. So he doubled him up as far as accuracy. So where do you go? Where do you go? The problem with Diaz isn't that he didn't punch enough in the late rounds. I thought he was fine, including landing a punch that knocked Russell down in the 12th, but referee Kenny Chevalier said he pushed him down. Okay. I mean, it looked like a punch to me. And as he was going down, he gave him a little push. And it wasn't the first time Russell went down in the fight. The other one was ruled a slip. I wasn't clear. I didn't get a clear look at that, but I'll take my colleagues ringside. I'll take their take on it. They said he slipped on the logo. I didn't have a clear shot at it. Gary Russell could have made the fight easier if he landed his pity pat shots and moved. Land and then move the other way. Now, maybe he didn't do it. People talked about, well, Gary wanted to show his versatility. He wanted to exchange. I'm not buying that. Maybe the body shots took a little bit of his movement, took his legs from him just a bit. So, going back to the numbers, usually when pointing to CompuBox numbers, if a guy doubles another guy up in accuracy, but the busier guy, if not necessarily effective guy, is much busier, we search elsewhere to see where the fight was won or lost. Now, usually one or two judges like activity over accuracy, or vice versa, accuracy over activity, which makes it a close fight, generally speaking. However, when you look at the power punching, so I'm going to another category now to see where the fight was won or lost. When you look at power punching statistics, we see Russell landed 138 of 405 power shots for 34%. All right, you got that? Whereas Diaz landed 151 of 363 for 42% of his power punches. So you throw half as many punches overall than Russell, but you land only 7 less. And then you throw 40 less power punches, but land 13 more, and at a rate of 42% to 34% for Russell. So on paper, this is a close fight. Watching live, it was a close fight. I'm not going to tell you what my scorecard is. Y'all go beat me up. This should have been a close, unanimous decision, or a split decision, or a draw, like a split draw or a majority draw. Listen, if all three judges would have had it 115, 113 for Russell Jr., or even if two had it that way and one judge had it 16-12, I think everyone would have walked out of the arena happy. There was an argument on press row about the scoring. And I mean, it turned into a fight. I don't know who the guys were. I left to go to the media area because they were showing the fight from Canada in the media area. So some other guys came in and talked about it. Now, without watching a replay of the fight on television, I'd say Diaz Jr. lost because he didn't throw his jab enough, and he didn't mix up his combinations like he did in let's say round 2, and I think it was round 5. I know definitely round 2. I'm not sure about round 5. Russell Jr. won the fight, I think, by taking a few of the late rounds. He threw almost 1,000 punches, and he had to. I liked Russell's jab up top, and definitely liked his jab to the breadbasket. I think he kind of forced Diaz Jr. to reset, and that stuff takes the wind out of you a little bit. So when Russell needed to dig deep and do that, or when he moved and he tried to keep Diaz Jr. off of him, that little jab to the gut It's effective if you watch fights closely. There was some trash talking prior to this fight, but at the end of the day, these two guys were respectful and gave the fans toward each other and gave the fans what they wanted. It was a decent fight. I'd like to see Gary get in there with Santa Cruz if he beats Abner Mares next month. Problem is, Gary doesn't fight much, and now with his hand injury excuse that he gave on Saturday night, we probably won't see Gary Russell Jr. again until Christmas 2019. Matter of fact, Keith Thurman Jr. might not return until then either. Shout out to Duke Olden. I know that's your man. Your man, not mine. Anyway, I think Santa Cruz versus Russell Jr. would be good. I think it would be better than Russell Jr. versus Diaz. And it would also be a unification. These guys playing around, not fighting each other. I mean, it's time to unify. A few things about the fight. I saw Gervonta Davis there. I also saw the great flyweight. I wonder how he would have fared in the Superfly cards. Hall of Famer Mark Too Sharp Johnson. Folks, he was a fantastic fighter if you've never seen him. Check him out. I saw Jarrett Hurd. Saw him a few weeks ago at the Maryland Boxing Hall of Fame induction to support my man, Easy Ed Griffin, who I want to interview. Stop ducking me, Ed. I saw Austin Trout. Question: how many of you saw Austin Trout versus Jermall Charlo? That fight could have gone either way. I mean, a draw would have worked. To be real with you. Well, now a couple of years later, he fights Jermall's brother, Jermell Charlo, on the undercard of Santa Cruz versus Mares. Question is Trout mentally prepared? I mean, he has a fight in LA in 3 weeks. And here he is all the way across the U.S. in Maryland to watch some fights. Then he's been commentating on Premier Boxing fight cards too. I mean, do these little things add up to cause Austin Trout to come up just short once again because he's not 100% in camp? We'll see. Referee Kenny Chevalier did a bad job refereeing the fight, especially if you were a Diaz fan. I know Kenny. I mean, he's cool people outside of the ring, but just like Maryland and DC, if you bring a fighter from out of town to fight a local guy in Maryland or DC, make sure you get the number of the commission, because you will be filing paperwork in protest. The problem runs from the referees to the commissions. I've seen too many people get worked over the years. Too many people to mention. I don't think Chevalier did that bad in this fight, but I've seen some horrific stuff in both Maryland and DC. And now that I think about it, a little bit in Virginia too, but not as much. So maybe it's the entire DMV that should be put on notice. What else? Oh, also, I don't know if the Showtime commentators mentioned it, but Oscar De La Hoya wasn't allowed in the ring at all. Now, when a promoter has a fighter on a card, he often gets into the ring with the fighter, like during the introduction. So JoJo Diaz is a Golden Boy fighter, but for some reason, Oscar wasn't allowed in. You see, there goes Maryland sticking its nose where it doesn't belong again. Mind you, this is the same venue. This venue was also the scene of the crime of that Andre Dirrell versus Jose Uzcategui fight, if you remember that. So before the punch by the uncle, it just was a bad decision by the referee and the commission. Shout out to my man Paul Paparazzi Jones, photographer extraordinaire. He was in the house. Shout out to my man Paul Grant from GoForItRadio.com. That's GO, the number 4, IT, radio.com. GoForItRadio.com. Check him out. Shout out to my main man Chris Williams from C Boxing Info. Shout out to my man Mike Ferguson, who came to the fights. Great seats, Mike. If you haven't been to the MGM National Harbor for a fight or even a concert, trust me when I tell you, there is not a bad seat in the house. And something's good coming up. Something good is coming up. I think it's June 21st. If you can get to MGM National Harbor, June 21st, Mike Tyson's one-man show, round 2. What is it called? Undisputed Truth, round 2. I went to the first one a few years ago in New York, and it was awesome. And I hope he didn't change the show up much, because it's a good show. Either way, if it comes to your town and is anything like the first run, you will not be disappointed. Fellas, take a lady with you. If you don't have a lady to take a buddy. So I know after it leaves, it's one night only. He's doing it starting out one night only, which wasn't how he did it when I saw him. And that might mean he's going back to do a Vegas leg of the tour, like do a whatever you call it. So June 21st, I'm almost positive. If that's a Thursday, then that's when it is. That'll be at MGM National Harbor. Then they go to Atlantic City a couple of days later for one night only, and then Detroit. And then there's nothing on the schedule, so I don't know if he's going to have there's a word I'm looking for and I can't find it, but it's kind of like a teacher having tenure, when you're doing your shows in Vegas and you're just there, like Copperfield and whoever else, Boyz II Men, and Wayne Newton, Donnie and Marie, the list goes on. I hate when I can't think of a word. It's not tenure, but anyway. I got the Badou Jack thing wrong too, but boy, if he could have mustered up just a little more, he could have knocked Stevenson out and put his career as lineal champion to an end. Now that fight seemed to be as simple as Stevenson won the first half of the fight and then Badou won the second half. I mean, it didn't quite play out that way. I think Badou may have lost the first 3 rounds, or 2 of the first 3 at least. And then I think he stole the 4th maybe. And then he went on a run. I think he won like about 3, 4, like 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, like 3, 4 in a row. Gave back the 11th, and then I thought he won the 12th. But if you gave him anything else early, then you probably had him winning a split decision. If you didn't, then whatever. Most people aren't going to argue with a draw. They're not going to argue a draw or either guy by a round. They'll argue, is what I'm saying, but you can't. They'll debate, okay, like, but you can't cry over spilled milk. Of course, both guys thought they won, but they weren't vehemently protesting. So I expect Monday, once guys have a chance to think about it, I'm sure press releases will come out or interviews where by Monday or Tuesday, one guy will say, "Oh, I could have done this better," and the other guy say, "Maybe I should have done that." You know how the game is. So the fight went as I thought. Badou, I said that there could be multiple scenarios, but more than likely it was going to be an early KO for Stevenson or a late win by Badou, whether by knockout or close decision, or a late win by Stevenson. But so and as I stated, Badou started to see that left, and as it got late, if he could have stepped on the gas just a little bit, he would have knocked Stevenson out, along with Stevenson just being exhausted. So he would have been knocked out from a punch as well as exhaustion. To me, it wasn't the body shot he hurt Jack with that saved him. I think it was a little bit of his jab and a lot of holding. The main reason outside of holding, though, may be that Badou was getting hit from shots of a guy who was a heavyweight on fight night. Man, Stevenson looked huge. And he also looked good at the weigh-in. Maybe a little too good. I mean, his skin was glowing. I mean, he didn't look dried out like guys usually do when making weight. And I'll leave that commentary there. Had a problem with the referee in this one. The hometown establishment referee in this fight was bad also. Yet another reason Stevenson survived was because of the referee's threats to take a point from Jack for low blows and inexplicable warning for holding. Jack wasn't the one doing the majority of the holding. That first part about the threats of deducting a point, that's very important. The body work helped take the gas out of Stevenson. But then Jack became hesitant to go to the body. And he stopped going to the body out of fear of losing a point, which in this fight would have costed him the draw. I think Badou Jack is going to kick himself once it sets in. I mean, he had his shot to get Stevenson out of there. He just didn't have the extra gear to get it done. Listen, I still have some Triple G versus Vanes Martirosyan t-shirts. For those who emailed me, I actually sent them out today, Sunday evening. Went to one of those kiosks, one of those 24-hour kiosks, and I like those because I can go to the post office whenever I feel like it. If anyone wants a Golovkin t-shirt, email me. There's the one with the gold GGG Golovkin on the front and back, and then there's one with the Triple G versus Vanes Martirosyan. So so if you want one, email me. If you don't know the email, go to the website and select the About tab, and you'll find it. Catch you next time.